Hello, people of the world, and welcome back on the Mary in Motion podcast. Today, I'm joined by Daniel, who left Mexico during the pandemic and has been living in Europe ever since.
Hello everyone, I'm Daniel. Well, first of all, thank you, Mary, for the invitation to your podcast. Yeah, happy to be here. I like to do podcasts, so let's go for it.
Perfect. So, as I said, you are from Mexico. From which part of Mexico are you?
So I come from the capital, so easy, from the Mexico City. Yeah.
So, during the pandemic, you moved to Europe.
Yeah.
Which country did you go to?
Yeah, so as you say, like it will be already feels far now speaking about the pandemic, but after Mexico I decided to move to Germany during the pandemic, so I went there to the north of Germany, to Bremen. Yeah.
And why did you choose Germany?
Yeah, I've always been, let's say, attached to German culture because also my family, my grandfather was German, and also in Mexico I went also to a German school. So, and also I did an exchange program when I was during university. So I was 1 year in Germany. So after finishing my studies in Mexico during the pandemic, I said, okay, let's give it a shot. Let's try. I had a lot of friends also living in Germany, so I said, why not? Let's go for it.
What did you do in Germany?
So at the beginning, I didn't have a plan. Actually, the plan, we will arrive to that point. The plan was to go to Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but when the pandemic started, then I had to change a bit the plans because going to Belgium, I didn't know the languages. I had a friend there who said like, yeah, come to Belgium, it's very nice. Maybe have you been in Ghent? She told me like, yeah, life in Ghent is very nice. You should come here. I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. But then pandemic came. I was like, okay, maybe I should start with something I already know. I know the language. I've lived there, and I have friends there. So I said, okay, at least I won't be in the streets. So that's why I decided to go to Germany. I spoke with a friend. I said like, it's okay if I can stay 2 weeks with you. She said like, yeah, of course. You're always welcome. In the end, it was 7 months.
You stayed the whole time.
Yeah, so in total in Germany in the end I stood like 1 year and some months. Because I arrived. I had no plan. My plan was not to stay in Germany. But then things changed because of the lockdowns, rules. I found some small jobs in between. So I started. My first job was painting a house.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's why during 1 year I did like some small jobs while applying for other stuff like more related to what I studied. And yeah, so that's why I studied in Germany until I found an opportunity to then move to Belgium.
Mm-hmm. But I would like to come back to the fact that you were in a German school.
Yeah.
In Mexico. What do you mean?
So actually I think there are like international schools in most of the countries, and also there are German schools.
Mm-hmm.
So I've actually met a lot of people now while traveling that did this type of schools. So yeah, it's a school approved by the German by Germany, by the government, that it's officially like teaching in certain way with the German system, but still applying the system of the country based. So in this case, it's like a mixture between the system of Mexico and Germany.
And did you learn German also?
Yeah. So actually, like for example, everything related to science, we did it in German.
Okay, so quite fluent in German.
Yeah, let's say that. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, so, but I think it wasn't during school. Yeah, you learn how to think and so on in German, but being fluent, I think it comes only until you live in the country. But in my case, it was like that.
Yeah, but you had strong basis. I guess.
No, yeah, that's true. Yeah, the basis is very strong. It's really. I was very lucky to have this education, and also it opens like doors and perspective for also to go abroad and meet people. So it was very nice.
Yeah, I guess the German system is more inclined to hire people that did some German schools than if you had done a regular Mexican school, I guess.
Like you mean to enter later to study in Germany, or what do
Or
you
even
mean?
to work.
Yeah, even to work. Yeah, I think for work, I think the important thing is also to have a very good basis. Yeah, because in German, to work in Germany is really required. But also to study, then it makes it easier because then you can validate your studies. Like it counts like, let's say, as an international high school or German high school, so you can enter directly to the university. Otherwise, you need to do an extra year, prove your grades and so on.
So you arrived in Europe during COVID.
Yeah.
How was it? Did it affect your integration? Because if you were in lockdown, you couldn't necessarily meet new people and everything.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I don't know. At one point, I thought it was a good idea to move during lockdown during COVID, but yeah, of course, had an impact. Like because there were a lot of restrictions, so it's not. I think during at one point, like there were like it was possible to do gatherings, but outside, like not go to the city center, but or if you go, you can use the mask and so on. So at the beginning it was okay, let's say, and also I was lucky because I arrived with a friend and she already knew a lot of people, so I was already like, I think after some weeks I was already like going to some meetings like with a lot of people, and also when you're from Latin America, once you meet someone from Latin America, then you meet a huge group, and that makes it very easy like to meet people at the beginning. But yeah, of course, then there were some rules, and at that I think at one point like I think it was the same for a lot of people. Like you could only meet like a certain group or a very small group, or like one person at the time, or only one household. So I don't remember. So yeah, at one point, I think the difficult part was during the winter. Yeah, because then you're new in the city, you don't have many activities because you cannot do really a routine. It's cold, so you can go outside, but just for a while. You cannot stay all the day there. And yeah, and of course, finding like more opportunities for job. It was very very closed, so it was a bit tough that part. Yeah.
And did you had a lot of local friends, German friends?
Actually, at the beginning, no. But yeah, with the time, I also then moved to another house. So then I had the German housemates. So yeah, in that case, yeah, and then once you meet German local people, then yeah, I was started to meet more. So yeah, and that also helped because then you have the feeling like you are like putting, let's say, roots in that part. Yeah.
And then what happened? Why did you move to Belgium?
Yeah, but as I said, then during that period in Germany, I was like, okay, I had some small jobs. I did what I could in that time, but at the same time, I was applying to other stuff that were more related to what I studied. So then I applied to. Actually, we come back. The friend that told me, you should come to Belgium. She sent me an application like, I saw this. It looks like something for you. I was like, okay, I saw it. I applied. I said like, well, let's give it a chance. And then, I was called for an interview. Then I passed everything, and then but it was a program. It was like a graduate program. So it was around Europe, and they had sites everywhere. And yeah, at the end they were like, yeah, okay, you got the job. I was like, oh, nice, but it's in Belgium. I was like, okay, good, but it was like in a city I never heard about. It's like in Namur, so I never heard about it before, and I said, well, okay. Then I remember I just looked in Google. I said, well, there's a university, so young people should live there. Shouldn't be small enough because there's a university. So I think it was in like within 3 weeks I decided to move, like and then I said, okay, I was already comfortable living in Germany because I already had friends, I had my group, I had some things there. But then I said, well, this looks promising. So I said, okay, then I I decided to go to Belgium.
And did you know the language?
So yeah, but for the ones maybe that I don't know, Belgium, there are officially 3 languages. So it's French, Flemish, that it's Dutch, and German. But German, no one cares because it's only spoken by 3%. So basically, it's everything in French or Dutch. Well, Flemish. Sorry, I don't want to piss anyone. So yeah, so this opportunity was in the French-speaking region. So yeah, and I knew the basic of French because I had like some course during university from French, so I could say some phrases. I could defend myself, but no. Then I arrived here. Then I realized it was, of course, a different accent. So it was not the same accent from France. There are some words that change. Like I wouldn't say a lot, but some things change. And yeah, and the shocking part, when I arrived to Belgium, I went to the register. They were like, yeah, I went to the foreign office or area, and they were not speaking English. I was like, okay. But at one point it's good because I think a lot of people complain when people don't speak English and so on. But I always try to see the positive thing, and the positive thing is that, okay, this forces you to speak the language or to learn it, to find a way to communicate and yeah. I didn't know much at the beginning. I realized when I arrived to Belgium.
But now you speak super good. So you learned really.
Yeah, but thank you. Yeah, I had to learn because then at the beginning my job I didn't require French. So, but at one point they started to, but I got more into local projects, let's say. So I had to work with people that were only speaking French. So yeah, I had to learn it. Then I had a very nice, we say colloque. I don't know not the word in English.
Housemate.
Yeah, but I had I was living in a very nice house with a very nice people, and they were speaking in English and French. At the beginning, they were helping me a lot, but at one point they were only teaching me bad French. And I remember one time I said like, "So guys, this week I have my first presentation in French. We need to speak correctly." Because I cannot say wrong stuff this week. And they were like, yeah, okay, no. So yeah, and also of course then you can practice at work, and then at home, your brain is drained at the end of the day, but slowly you get there, and yeah, that's how I learned at the end. Of course, I had some classes. I wouldn't say like a lot. I had some courses that were like 1 hour per week during some months, and that helped also to have more conversation now, French, let's say.
Yeah. And you think that having already another language, the fact that you already spoke very good German, maybe it helped you how to learn another language?
Yeah. The good thing is that German uses a lot of words in French.
Really?
Yeah, like for the niveau.
Okay.
Yeah. But I remember when I was studying German at school, I was like, at the end I was very tired because we were having everything in German at school. So I was like, I want to finish this. Then I was excited at university that I had some course in French. And I remember when I started the course in French, I was like, there's no logic. Because in German it's like this, and 90% of the time, or maybe even high, it's like that. Or how it's written, it's read like that. And Spanish is more or less the same. But then French, exceptions everywhere. It's not pronounced like that. Different types of accent. So it was different, let's say. But I think the good thing of knowing one language is that then you know, or you already have tools on how to learn a new one. Because I learned a new German, I could speak French now. But maybe you already have, or your brain.
Yeah, maybe your brain is a bit wired.
Yeah, yeah. Because even, for example, I speak German, but I remember during conversations, you couldn't catch everything. So I think your brain at one point, I'm not an expert, I'm just speaking by experience. At one point you get used to not get everything. So you get the context, and then you work with that. And of course you do a lot of mistakes because of that. But then I think this you train this, and maybe with French as well. Like you get some the situation. You get some words, and then it's okay. But you try to put some stuff together, and most of the times works.
Yeah. And do you see the similarities between Spanish and French? Like sometimes was it easy, or some words are the same?
Yeah. I remember when I started to speak a bit. For example, I was like saying some small stuff in French, and then at one point, what I was doing was, if I didn't know a word, either was saying it with a wrong English, or with a weird Spanish. So that was my technique. I was like putting some. I said, okay, I put a weird accent in this like in the Spanish word, and it worked. Or I was saying like also English with a weird accent. It worked as well.
So perfect. You had some techniques.
Yeah. So that's what helped me. I don't know if that works for someone else, but you can try it. It's funny. People laugh, and then at least you can make some difference.
Yes. Did you see any differences between Germany and Belgium?
Oh yes, a lot. Yeah. So, like, you mean like in the daily life or
culturally, or in the administrative stuff, or
yeah, but
anything you
administrative
can
stuff
think.
in Germany, it's heavy. Yeah, but I think it's more or less the same in the terms of administrative things. I think it's not so far. I didn't see any big difference there. But I remember when I moved to Belgium, at the beginning I felt like everything was very random.
What do you mean?
Like there were a lot of things from a lot of places put together. I don't know, I remember it's an example. I went to Antwerp with some friends, and we were in this we went to buy some fries because it's a typical thing from Belgium. So and then I saw the name of the sauce. They were very random. Like you have the samurai sauce, the Brazil sauce, the Mexican sauce, the Dallas sauce, or like stuff like that. I was like, yeah. And with the time, even with my friends, we said like there were always random stuff happening in Belgium, and I think that's something I like because it's a mix of a lot of things. Now Brussels is one of them. I don't know if it's still applicable, but at one point I read it was the most cosmopolitan city in the world. I had the feeling like there's this mix of cultures, like, but it's not something new. It's already like from some generations. That's my feeling. So I felt like in Belgium, like you could be whoever you are, and it's okay. That was my feeling. And I'm not saying in Germany it was not like that, but maybe, yeah, it's more. Maybe also the culture in Germany is stronger. They have their traditions, and they like to keep the things like as they work there, and it's okay. I also enjoy that part, like the organization, time is very important. So yeah, but that was the difference. I felt like more this, I don't know, embracing culture in Belgium. That's it. I don't know, but yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah.
And what about Mexico? What is the vibe there?
In Mexico, well, we are more relaxed. It's completely different than from Germany. The organization, it's not the same, but I would say it's like not so chaotic as people think, but it's a chaos or that works. So yeah, it's much more relaxed. So yeah, it's of course now. It's a long time. I don't live full time in Mexico, so and also my experience was like till as a young adult, let's say. So yeah, but it's like, for example, in Germany, if you want to have a coffee with someone, you need to plan it 2 weeks in advance. But what if in 2 weeks you don't want to have a coffee? But okay, you already did the plan and you go. In Mexico, it's like the same day. And I think in Belgium, maybe the same day, depends. But usually you say, let's have something in tomorrow or in 2 days, and it works.
Yes.
So maybe that's also in between. But in Germany, it's like, in 1 week, let's have a cappuccino at 2. And it's like
and
that.
Then you have to, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there something that really surprised you when you arrived in Europe? Like a first impression or a little culture shock? besides the coffee planning.
No, yeah, but that was later. But no, of course, like for some in Europe, we are that you can plan your day, your schedule. You have the schedule for the trains, for the public transport, so you can plan. Okay, if I leave at 7:15, I can catch the train at this time and be there here. Most of the time there are delays and it's not perfect. But in Mexico we don't have.
What do you mean? You don't have a timetable for the trains, or
No. You imagine we are in Mexico City. It's 20 million people or more. There's traffic. It's more like, okay, if I leave at this time, there will be not much traffic, so I can do between 30 minutes and 45 minutes. But it's something that you usually should do in 15.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
So it doubles the time. And then, of course, imagine you taking the bus. There's no timetable because the bus is in the traffic. Metro, like, there's a lot of metro, but it passes like whenever it comes. Yeah. So yeah, we don't have trains, for example.
Okay.
Yeah, not yet.
I didn't know.
Yeah. So yeah. So maybe those things, but I think something that I liked or that I discovered in Europe is more this. Like doing things in the nature, like going to the forest or going to the lake or to the mountain. I think at least I didn't have this experience in Mexico, or not as much, because I was also living in a big city. So I'm not saying it's only because I moved to Europe. In Mexico we also have these things. Yeah, of course we have a lot of nature.
Yeah, but maybe because the transportation is less easy, it's not so easy to go outside and enjoy the nature. And maybe it's also farther away, because if you live in the big city,
and then you need more time. And here it's super quick. You take even sometimes with the metro you get outside the city, and it's so nice. That's something I really enjoy.
And what do you miss the most from Mexico?
But of course my family and my friends, but of course the food also. Basically that. Family, friends, and food. the three F.
What kind of food is your favorite, or like that you miss the most?
From Mexico. Well, in Mexico City, for example, the street food is very good. Like, so well, everyone knows about tacos. So we have like street food and different types of tacos, like how they're prepared, like if the sauce is more spicy, less spicy. So I think I miss that. Like it's a for example, it's a plan, like normal plan, like you say to a friend, let's go and grab some tacos on a Friday night, and then you just go, and then you're in the street eating your tacos. It's very nice, simple,
yes,
and good, very good. Yeah,
there is not so much street food here. It's a bit sad.
Or not that people think, maybe sometimes people think that tacos is just one thing, but it's like the type of meat change, how it's prepared change, like the different sauce change. So there are a lot of things, so it's very varied. But of course we have also like the typical dishes that I also miss, like things that you eat on a Sunday or during the weekends or in a specific time of the year. So, for example, we have the Day of the Dead that we are very famous for now nowadays, and we have specific bread for that date. So the bread, dead bread. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have some Mexican friends that you can share those things with? For example, on the Day of the Dead, do you see some Mexican friends and celebrate together?
You mean here or back in Mexico?
Yeah, here. Or for any other date?
So usually I try to do some stuff. For example, last year, I think I was only with my girlfriend. We baked the bread. It was very good actually. But usually I try to do some stuff. I think it's also a nice excuse to do a party.
Yeah.
I think now in Brazil I don't have many friends from Mexico. I know some, but so we haven't like organized something related to those dates. But in general I always do something. Or one time I did a party and also we all baked the bread and we were with costumes. So.
And do you cook Mexican food often by yourself?
Yes, I try to do it. Of course, for the homesick. So yeah, I try to do it. Or usually, for example, with my housemates, we usually cooked or prepare a lot of Sunday brunch. So usually I took the opportunity to put some Mexican dishes there, or like I organize a Mexican night, and then I try to cook some things. There not everything is easy to do because of the tools or the food is not the same. But yeah, I try also to adapt. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the idea to have some tastes.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned that your sister was already in Germany, or like she was in Europe.
Yeah.
And
So she's in Europe. She's in France.
oh, okay.
Yeah. She lives in France with her husband.
Did it help your integration, or did it influence your choice of moving abroad?
Yeah, I think it was also always like a role model because she did it before me, so of course that's motivating. And yeah, for example, when I moved 5 years ago, she always, since the beginning, she told me like she was going to support me and so on. So yeah, of course it has a big influence. And yeah, and since then we are both here, so we always support each other. Like she moved a lot as well, and at one point we were very close, like 2 hours difference. It was the shortest distance we have lived in like 10 years now.
Yeah. Okay.
So we enjoyed a lot that time. Now she moved a bit further, but yeah, it's like that. And yeah, so of course it's very nice to have her.
And do you see her
Close.
often?
Now because now she's on the other side of France, so it's very far. So, but yeah, usually when we can, yeah, I would say. Yeah, I cannot say like there's a routine, but we see each other when we can, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And do you stay connected to the rest of your family at home?
Yes.
How?
Yeah. How? But well, of course now with video calls that helps a lot, and I would say we live in a time that it's very easy to stay connected. So I always say like, who wants to stay connected stays connected. No, of course it's not easy to stay in touch with everyone. Also, I have a big family, so everyone has their schedule. So, but yeah, and I think with the time I learned like, okay, we speak when we can. I also, everyone has their times, but yeah, like with my family, I try to speak them every time I can.
Mm-hmm. And with the time difference, is it not too hard?
It's different, I think, but I got used to it now. But now Mexico stopped for example, the change of summertime.
Okay.
So it was always like a difference of 7 hours. Now it's 8 during the summer. So I don't know. It's only 1 hour more, but I don't know. It feels like a lot.
Yeah.
So it's really like for example, it's the time you sleep.
You need to adapt your schedule and.
Yeah, or sometimes, for example, I want to speak with my friends, but then I come back from work, and then they are working at that time. So then you need to sleep when they leave from work. So yeah, that's the complicated thing during the week. And of course, when you want to speak with your friends or family, you need to. Yeah, the best thing is to plan it. Or sometimes I just do it randomly. I have this game with some friends. Like, okay, I called you. If you're free, you answer. If not, it's okay. But then it's you to return the call when you can. Mm-hmm. And then if I'm free, and so most of the time works. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned that you had a girlfriend. Is she in Belgium too?
No, she lives in Netherlands. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So another country.
Yes. Yeah. And she's from Portugal. So of course, more countries, like mixing more cultures. Yeah.
What language do you speak?
So she speaks Portuguese, and now I would say I speak a broken Spanish. Now I try to speak Portuguese, but in the end it's more like a portuñol. It's a mixture. So it's me speaking Spanish, just putting words in Portuguese. So, but yeah, I would say mainly she speaks Portuguese, I speak Spanish, and yeah, but now it's good because at the beginning we were speaking English, but at one point we said, okay, if we stay in English, we will speak English all the time. And let's try to switch. So for her to learn Spanish and me to learn Portuguese, like that. Also, if we go to Portugal or to Mexico or somewhere else, we can speak our local languages, and it's much better. And yeah, now maybe it's our own language now.
Yeah, it's cool. But I think it shows a lot of respect to speak the language of the other. like to show your commitment to try to learn it.
Yeah, because at the for example, if you go then to the country of your partner, then you can speak with the locals, with the family, with the friends, and I'm also like the idea that the difficult topics or the feelings, you are more connected when you speak your own language. Also because then you have the, not even because it's you know how to say how you feel in your language, but you can use the slang, like or the expressions that you use all your life. So I think it's nice also, and then you see the, I don't say the most true version of yourself. I don't know, something like that. I would say, and I think, and it's also very interesting, no, to see this side there.
You will speak so many languages at the end. Like you speak already a lot.
Yeah, or I try.
Yeah,
I think it's something that also living abroad helps, like because you start meeting a lot of people, and you meet very interesting people living abroad, but also not only because you're abroad, but I think when you're traveling, you spend, when you live abroad, you spend also more time alone, and by spending more time alone, people think, I won't speak with anyone. No, but I think it's the other way around. You're alone, so you get bored and you say, okay, you speak with whoever is next to you. Now I have this, maybe it's also the personality I developed in the past years, but now for sometimes I just speak with random people that are next to me, and sometimes it's super nice. For example, it happened to me the last time I was like taking a plane from Portugal actually, and then there was an old guy struggling to get some water from the water fountain, and then I tried to help him, but then he replied in Italian. So he was speaking with me in Italian, and then he started, I knew how it worked, but he was explaining me how to do it correctly. He was just being nice. But then, somewhere I have friends from Italy, so I know some words, and then you reply with him in Italian. Like 3 things, huh? I won't say I speak Italian, but then this changes the mood as well from the person, and I think it's very nice, and then makes the difference. I don't know, at least for me.
It opens up, and people like when people speak their language. How often do you go back to Mexico, on average?
Yeah, I would say like once a year. Yeah, it's difficult to manage to go, especially because when I go, I want to go for as long as I can, because even though if I go 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, times go so fast when I'm there, because you want to do everything, meet everyone. So, but yeah, I would say once a year. In the past times, it was like every time I got invited to a wedding.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, last time I didn't arrive to a wedding because my plane got cancelled. But yeah, it's mainly around that, and it's every time I can, or once a year, I would say. Yeah.
And do you feel like a tourist when you go back, or do you really feel home?
That's a good question. I don't feel like a tourist. I think, for example, when I lived abroad, when I did this exchange program during university, I feel like when I came back, it felt like time stopped, and then you come back to Mexico and you think nothing happened, because but of course life moves on, and now it feels more like jumps, like okay, you left at this point and then you come back and you're further away, and a lot of things happen, and then you receive all this huge bunch of information at once. So, but at the same time, people, and family, friends, nothing changed with them.
Yeah.
So it's like you saw them before, the day before, but a lot of things happen in between those days. So yeah, it's a strange feeling, but I don't feel like a tourist. I always have the feeling of coming back. Yeah.
So you still feel very Mexican?
Yeah, I'm Mexican.
Yeah. Even though you don't live there?
So I would say, I was born, raised in Mexico, and then there was this mix of cultures with Germany, and I think now I would say like I think it applies for everyone. You become a mix of all your experiences. So I think I'm fortunate also to know a lot about from Belgium, from Germany, from France, from Portugal. Now I'm learning a lot, and I think it's at one point it becomes part of your personality, of who you are, and it also affects how you speak, how you interact with people. I think now when I come back or when I meet someone, it's not the same time as I did it 5 years ago when I arrived. I think I will always say I'm Mexican.
Yeah.
I like also to show this to people when I meet them abroad, because we have all stereotypes about France or Mexico or whatever, because this is what we learn from the media, from movies and so on. So I think that's what I like also when you speak the local language, and then you can really interact with the local people, and at one point you get their respect, and then you can also show them
Who
who you
are.
are, what's your country, what really is your country about, what we do, and so on. So for example, now one of the things I could, you ask about the what do I cook for Mexican, I cook a lot of quesadillas.
Mm-hmm.
It's our crepe,
Yeah.
with cheese. But now all the housemates I had cooked quesadillas, like in Germany, Belgium, Italy, Greece, England, now also Portugal. Like, and for example, this type of things is so fun. Or I receive the picture of the grandfather of a housemate I had from France, tasting guacamole for his first time last week.
Okay.
Imagine like all the things that had to happen so that he comes to that. So I think this is very nice, and this is because you show where you come from and who you are, and then people enjoy this, and then it's nice to share, I think.
I like this, showing how you also influence others with your culture, even though you are not there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very interesting.
Yeah, I think at one point you show what you learn and what you like also from your country. Also, I think living far, it connected me a bit more with my culture back.
Mm-hmm,
And not only, for example, not only the Mexican culture, but also the Latin culture. Because Mexico is a bit, like all Latin America, we are very connected with, because of the language, of course, but with music and so on. But then Mexico is still very isolated because of the geographical position. It's not like in the middle of South America. Like, maybe now it's different, but when I grew up, I was not like that. So when I was living abroad, then you meet people from Peru, Venezuela, Brazil, Argentina, and so on, and then you feel okay. It's very strange that you have a lot of things in common between Ecuador and Mexico, or Peru, or from Chile, and it's like, but we live so far. It's like an 8-hour flight between Chile and Mexico, for example. So this is also very nice also to discover these connections you have as well that you didn't know, and maybe if you stood only in your home country, you couldn't have.
Thank you. I really like this vision.
Yeah.
And do you think on going back to Mexico eventually for long term?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. Now, I would say, like, of course, Mexico is always there and I think it's always an option for me because I grew up there, my family's there. But today, no. I would say I have other plans here. So.
Do you plan to stay in Belgium?
Not for long. No, but no.
Okay.
No, but I'm always like, now maybe I change. Now I plan more things and I have on other projects, but I always like to leave a bit of room for improvisation.
Yeah, like when you moved to Belgium, it was not planned.
Yeah.
So maybe you will
maybe
do the
not
same.
So much improvisation as I did 5 years ago. No, but now I think it's nice to have a structure, but I think it's also fun to have this room for improvisation as well.
What advice would you give to someone that is moving abroad for the first time?
I think it depends where you go, no? But I think mainly it's important to know why you are doing it, because I think we romanticize a lot about things going abroad. Like, yeah, it's super nice. You go to Europe, everything is so good. And it might be true. But then you come and, of course, there are daily problems, daily things that are not the same as where you were before. But if you know why you're doing it, or you go with an objective, then it makes it easier to overcome all these challenges. Because at one point, as I said, you will spend more time alone. Yeah, you have to struggle with administrative things in another language. Already in your own language is difficult. Now do it in German or in French. It's but I think what I would say is, like, know why you're doing it and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Thank you. I think it's the end for me. I have no more question. Do you want to add anything?
No, well, thank you for the invitation. I always like to tell a bit of my stories, and it was a very nice experience.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And your vision, it's very interesting.
Well, thank you. Happy you like it, and just don't be afraid to try stuff. And yeah, you never know where you can end up.
True. And you also have a podcast.
Yeah, it's true. I also, during this period of when I was finding a job, I said, well, why not also to start my own project? So I started a podcast back then with a friend. It's about environmental education. Now we are trying to relaunch it again now with some housemates that I met, with my sister. And yeah, so it's about environmental education. First, we were interviewing people that mainly speak Spanish because we wanted to promote also this education in Spanish. Now we have some collaborations that are no longer in Spanish, so this will also help to expand the project, or at least just to meet more new people and listen to new projects.
What's the name?
So the name is Hábitos Eco. Maybe it's easier to
Yeah, maybe I will write it.
write it down. Yeah. So yeah, if you are interested about those topics, I invite you to follow us in Instagram or listen to it in Spotify, or I think it's also an Apple podcast.
Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.